everybody. I'm Cameron.
I'm Zach.
I know everything.
I know that they climbed a wall.
They did climb a wall.
And this is the Watching You Watch podcast.
Game of Thrones, The Climb, Season 3. So the episode's called The Climb, and literally they approach it from every angle.
From a lot of people's stories.
Yeah, so we have a literal climb with Jon Snow and the wildlings going over the wall, and then a lot of other metaphorical climbing.
Metaphorical climbs talking about the difference between what was it, basically insanity or chaos. Is it a pit or is it a ladder?
Yes. So how much of a climber are you feeling today, Zach?
There's a whole lot of things that happen that all at once. You were talking about with me just a little bit ago, a lot of things sort of are coming to fruition, and it's a little bit crazy. And also Melisandre came back, and that always scares me. I learned her name because she scares me.
Why don't you recap? This episode I know is chock full of stuff, so it might be impossible to get everything out there.
But some of the highlights.
Yeah.
Back in the band of the Brotherhoods, Final Fantasy 15, they are chilling and grilling, and all of a sudden Melisandre rolls up after an impromptu archery lesson, and I was just like, why are you here, what are you doing? And she's all she sees her old priest buddy, who's the alcoholic rum priest, because of course he's a drunken priest.
Yep.
And she's like, you've brought this man back 6 or 7 times. It's what was in the afterlife? Darkness. Cool. And she's like, we need a person for purposes. And they're like, oh. And so they take Gendry, and
yeah, they take
not
Gendry.
Good. And then she also looks into Arya's eyes and says she sees a big old darkness with 3 different color eyes looking back at her, and that is ominous as heck. It's almost like she's bringing her I want to kill these people thing to life. Speaking of weird dream things, we get to see a nice little vignette of Bran Flakes' camp, and how Osha and the sister.
Yeah, we don't
even know her.
Her name is Mira. I don't know. They don't really do a good job of introducing either Mira or her brother Jojen.
Sister and Dreamseer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he has a thing, and basically it's Jon Snow's with the wildlings, and everyone's like, oh, and Hodor's like, Hodor. And that.
It was nice to see Hodor again. It was nice.
It was good. It was good to reaffirm that that's all he says.
Yep.
That was really it for them. On King's Landing, a lot of shenanigans are going. Like I had anticipated before, there's definitely some fallout after Tywin's trying to do stuff. Nobody likes him for it, and everyone has plans going different ways. I don't know whose plan it was specifically, but they Loras and Sansa are meeting. But that's, I don't know.
Yeah, it was originally
sort of like Marjorie
Varys
being nice.
conspired with Marjorie and the Tyrells to make sure that they could get Sansa to someplace nice, basically.
Well, yeah, and that might be part of it.
And also secure more power for the Tyrells, because if Loras married Sansa and Robb dies, they have the heir to the north, basically.
Exactly.
And control the Tyrells.
Easily.
Right.
It's
so it's
nice.
But also a little bit
but
we
definitely,
want power.
oh boy, definitely undertones.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I still go back and forth. The Tyrells aren't terrible people, but they aren't good people.
but Marjorie.
But no, the Grandma Tyrell is still pretty much the best. Her and Tywin had maybe one of my favorite exchanges of the show so far, where they're like, well, you need to do this, and it's like, well, your daughter is probably not going to be able to build children anymore, and he's like, I don't care, and she's like, I don't either, and she breaks his quill.
Yes.
And that's how you summarize that, because there's way too much witty dialogue and,
oh my gosh,
and wordplay for me to summarize
I
all of it.
every time Olenna Tyrell is on the screen.
Definitely my favorite action in that
please.
whole thing is Tywin being exasperated when it's brought up that his kids are incestuous, and he tries to give her some wine, and she just no. She puts her hand on it. You hear her
no,
ring tink against
yeah,
the wine
she's
glass.
No. No, honey, no.
Your wine sucks. It's probably the implication she was giving. That's the undertones that I got, because I think I only saw her take. No, that's actually what it was. She only took one sip during that entire scene.
I don't think I ever saw her sipping.
She didn't. She took one. They both took one in the beginning, and she never drank. Oh, that's awesome. I never even... Oh, that's awesome.
It's like she's got no patience for this.
She's like, once again, no patience, and also it's not up to her standard.
Yeah.
And if it's not up to her standard, get out.
Right.
So good. But yeah, and also Cersei and Littlefinger are basically meeting and have a heart-to-heart. It's interesting. They've been having so many more heart-to-hearts now.
You mean Cersei and Tyrion, not Littlefinger?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, we had to do this for clarity because if Cersei and Littlefinger were meeting, I think we would have got an entirely different scene.
That would have been nuts. I'm just thinking about him because he really dropped a bomb at the end. But
he did.
Like the moral of their little powwow is that yes, it sucks. Yes, they can do some stuff about it, but pretty much any way you roll the dice, Tyrion is screwed. And also, I think that didn't they say that Joffrey was the one that ordered Tyrion to be killed?
He just sort of assumed it,
or like
and
it's highly
Cersei
implied.
Didn't really say a whole lot about it, so it's still really ambiguous. Like she could have done it. But
or
like
his father wouldn't have done it because Tyrion definitely reasoned it out well. There's
three suspects. It's either like Joffrey, his father, who's probably least likely because he showed up later, and then Cersei is the other.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially when he said about like the poison thing and he could have done it quietly, like he was like testing his sister out because that's something she would do because she's not dumb.
Right.
But it makes the most sense that Joffrey would do it because like why on earth would you not kill this, dude in a back alley.
It's almost
somewhere.
funny, like he's if you should advise your son if he's going to have someone killed, like at least do it
right. It's kind of funny because in the end it's like almost like him coaching to like try and coach our uncontrollable son who killed Rose. F Joffrey.
Yeah, Rose is dead.
He's the worst. Rose is dead. Varys lost his contact, and Littlefinger, it's a lot more devious than I'd given him credit for. Like, for a while, he sort of seemed like he wasn't on the up and up, and at the end of this episode, you're like, oh, dang, that's not good.
Yep.
What else happened that was important? Once again, we had said there's not too terribly much to it, but Jon Snow and Ygritte climbed the wall. But a little bit more importantly is that they sort of, like... the scene was sort of romantic and also horrifying, where she's like, it's like, I know you're loyal, I know you're a good man, and if you do anything else, your balls are mine.
Yeah, she's like, I know that you're not really like.
Well,
loyal
and the
to
important
us.
thing is like, yeah, I know you're not loyal to the wildlings, you're still loyal to the crows, but don't you cross me.
Yeah. And she like implies like, hey, like let's like run away together basically when we get on the other side of this wall.
At first I thought, well, until she like mentioned the balls thing, I thought she was gonna say it's like we're foot soldiers in this, like why don't we just pretend to be dead and run away and become new people? But it was like, no, it's like you belong to me now.
Right.
Be good.
Basically.
Be good. I know you.
Anything else you'd like to recap?
Well, the whole Littlefinger drop was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because he gave Rose over to Joffrey for him to do sick, twisted things. He left without taking Sansa with him, which at first I thought it was like Loras leaving, but then we saw that, which I don't even know what that's about.
Sail.
The sparrow on the sail. I don't even know what that's necessarily about.
Well, like the sparrow is like his sign. Like I don't know if you see like his little like pin on his outfit all the time. The sparrow.
Okay.
It's like he's made it his like sigil, even though like he doesn't have sigils.
Some weird power plays going on. Yeah, and it's kind of scary how much he's looking for power, and like the whole thing where he's like he's counted the swords on the throne. It's like, oh
yeah, like when we find him in
danger.
that scene, he's staring at the throne.
It's like danger, danger, danger.
It's like, okay, we know what he's got on his brain.
Yeah. The only other thing is Theon gets tortured, and I don't understand why that's important.
Well, I do want to start there as far as my recap questions go. So are you good with your?
Okay, yeah, no, that's most of the high points.
Okay, so Theon you brought up already, and I do want to start with him because it's like we've been seeing him for like half a season so far, just in this like weird endless cycle of torture,
Yeah.
And like, we think he's getting out of it.
But then the guy who's torturing him now is the one who did it, and it's just...
Right. And then, like, they play this game, and by game, it's not fun for anybody.
It's not actually a game.
It's not a game. It's basically this whole thing where he's like, if you guess right about who I am and why I'm torturing you, like, I will...
Full disclosure.
Yeah, like, I'll let you go or something, and, like... And then he's like, actually, I won't let you go because we know how this ends. It's, it's not going to have a happy ending, that whole thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that happens in that scene, and basically at the end of it, Theon ends up begging to have his finger chopped off because of, like, the pain. And he loses the game. So, part of the nature of that game, though, was like trying to figure out who his torturer was. Do you have any theories about who this torturer is?
I don't know, and that's what really kind of terrifies me, because I have serious doubts that anything that Theon guessed was actually correct.
Okay, because
Like,
he was just like desperate.
yeah, because he was desperate, and like he said no to the first thing to get, like, it was just like a very predictable pattern. And like he hurt him, he's like, oh no, and then he said something, he's like, oh no, oh my, how did you get that?
Yeah,
And it's like next, and it's like,
like he's definitely toying with Theon hardcore.
yeah, like 100%. And I don't know, what's kind of creepy to me is thinking if none of that was real, like the like sort of serious look on his face before was probably less, oh no, he's found me out in an act, and more, this isn't going to be as fun as I wanted it to be.
Or maybe it's like another ruse, like where he pretended to be, like loyal to the Greyjoys when he broke him out, like that whole thing.
I don't know, and it's terrifying. But I think the one true thing I think that I believe him is that he's a liar, and that has been backed up pretty consistently.
I would agree.
That's why I can tell you.
But no speculation as to like whose side he's on. Where he's at.
My thought has always been, and I think it even said before, is that he's someone in his sister's camp that's just torturing him because she would enjoy it. And just because, I don't know, maybe like someone lower on the Greyjoy family that just thinks this is fun, and once he's dead, maybe could take his spot. Perhaps. Or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's my best guess. I can't think of anyone specifically that would want to hurt him, unless really just grabbing at straws, like maybe a relation of the two boys that he burned. But I thought they were from like an orphanage or something.
Yeah, they were orphan boys.
See, like, that's the thing. I don't feel as if we know enough about Theon to know what this dude's motivations would be.
Right. I know like that's like a really hard one to figure out, but maybe even harder yet to figure out is what Melisandre is doing.
Oh, I don't even want to know.
So she comes to the Brotherhood Without Banners, and she's like, they're comparing notes basically about the Lord of Light, and she's just in awe of the fact that there's been multiple resurrections that have happened here.
Yeah.
But then she says she's here for something, and she specifically takes Gendry with her, and she says like, you will cause kings to fall and will like raise kings to power, basically is what she says. And she takes him with her. So do you have any guesses as to what her plans are?
Oh man, I don't know. The thing with this is she wants Stannis to be the winner, correct?
Correct.
That's definitely her game, but I don't understand how a bastard child of the old king will help. I don't know if she's gonna perform some more like Lord of Light voodoo on him and do something weird. Like, I see him more as like a bomb rather than something like she'd do something to him that would like go in and like kill Joffrey or kill like a high-ranking officer or something. I don't know.
And yet she wants specifically Gendry, a bastard of the old king.
I feel as if that's kind of intentional. And I mean, she traveled a pretty darn good distance to get there. So
right.
It's got to be important. She wouldn't have just done it on a whim. Anything she's ever done has been for very specific reasons. It's just, since she's one of the few magic-y, quote-unquote, people in the show, it's very hard to predict what she will do with this person, because it's not like a power play, like, oh look, I have this. Mm-hmm. So
she's not showing her hand too early.
No, she hasn't, and it's not, and the way she plays is not, like the intrigue and stuff. It's like, I need this and I need this, and if I don't get it, something
heads will
miraculous
roll
and crazy happens. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, she's always just been like, I don't know. It's the difference between like a monster chasing you and like a zombie slowly moving towards you. She's like the zombie slowly moving towards you. It doesn't stop, and it just sort of defies reason.
Yep.
A monster you can kill. Melisandre, I don't know.
Yep. And then she also talks to Arya for like a hot second, and
that was creepy. And
she says that she sees eyes within Arya's own eyes that are like she seems to imply that these are like lives that Arya is going to take. And she says she sees brown eyes, she sees blue eyes, and she sees green eyes. So, do you have any thoughts, maybe, if there are...
I know one of those eye colors has to be Joffrey.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts of who the other people are? That I mean, like, which ones do you think most feasibly is Arya gonna kill before this all ends?
I think it might. I don't know. And the thing with this is what's scary is maybe they're not even people she intends to kill.
I mean, the only person so far I feel like
she's killed that one stable boy.
Yeah, she killed the one stable boy. So like, she's not a killer, but like, it's weird. Like Melisandre looks at her and she like knows, like this girl's gonna be a killer, basically.
And that's weird because that. And the thing with it is it has more credence, especially since
Melisandre's saying it.
Well, no, the assassin before her is like, "Hey, I can teach you a thing or two." He wouldn't just say that to anybody. He'd say it to someone he saw potential in. So that like double checks
right
what Melisandre is saying, which makes it more scary. Not that anything she said hasn't been wrong before, but still.
Right.
So
I mean, you really do think that she's going to start crossing names on that list?
I don't know when. That's the problem, but I feel as if she might. And maybe it's not even the people we suspect. Like maybe it'll be people within the Brother Without Banners or whatever.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I feel as if like the Hound may be sooner on her kill list than later, because she's gonna probably run away from the Band Without Brothers, and maybe she'll like be the 7th and lucky kill on like the the Undying dude or something. I don't know. I'm not sure, but
I mean they let the Hound go, and that was it. So
I don't think that's it. I highly doubt that's it. But pretty much any time she's had to bust out of somewhere, someone's had to be killed, and now she is literally on her own because she doesn't even have Gendry anymore.
Yeah,
the Hound's not there. There's no more hot pie.
Yeah, there's no more hot pie. Yeah, that's sad.
Tried to color of his eyes, but let's hope he's not getting back into this.
Mm-hmm.
He made her beautiful bread, and I wanted to stay that way. I want that to be the last good memory.
One last piece of like weird planning stuff I want to touch on before we get into like the big like theme of this episode, which we've already touched on a little bit, but we'll get there. I want to talk about Jaime and Brienne and what they're at. Having this dinner.
Was a weird scene.
They're having this dinner with Roose Bolton, who, if we remember, Roose Bolton is this bannerman to the Starks. Like he's talking about like, what should I do with you, Jaime? Because like if he's being a good bannerman, like he should send
and that's what's interesting because it means that he has doubts that the King of the North can win.
Right, but then he also says at the same side that he's like, maybe the smarter thing to do is to sell you back to the Lannisters because wars require money, and like you would give me a lot, basically.
And it could possibly help the war fund, but I don't know.
Like, what do you feel like Roose is doing here? Because this is the first time we have really drawn on someone who's like a subordinate of, like,
Robb that we haven't seen.
Right.
Like he hasn't been in Robb's presence.
We've seen him.
Works with him.
We've seen him a few times, like earlier on, but he's like the one. He'd be like always like yes, my lord, no, my lord, that kind of thing. Yeah,
but I don't know. I had just said, I feel as if it's more of a he wants to be on the winning side, and it may not necessarily be the Starks. So he's like,
he's like hedging his bets.
It's like, the best option, give you back to your father, tell him I didn't hurt you anyway, get money for the war, continue to fight. Both sides are generally happy with me, regardless of what happens. Like, he seems like a very practical man.
Right.
Not necessarily a loyal man, which is interesting, because, a loyal bannerman would have immediately just brought Jaime back. And it's interesting. I also see him as sticking with his own interests, because he won't let Bray go with him.
Yeah, he's like, Brienne stays here because she's a traitor to the Stark camp.
Exactly. Like, she won't, like, because of what her mother did, or I feel it's more that he's worried what she would do with him. Like, he wouldn't benefit if she took him there. You know what I mean?
Right.
He benefits if he takes Jaime wherever it is.
What do you think about, like, Jaime's reaction, though, to that? Like, when he says, like, Brienne stays with me and she will suffer the fate of a traitor because of what she did. And he gets kind of, like, defensive. Like, what did you think about that?
That was interesting. I think at this point they kind of know they are each other's sort of bastion in this crap hole, because it is true. She is a traitor, even among
even just by
her
being
side.
like she was like loyal, but she was loyal to a traitor,
Exactly. So she was darned if she did and darned if she didn't.
Right.
Kind of thing. So I feel as if they feel maybe there is some kinship. I don't know. I go back and forth on it, but there is some kinship between the two.
I mean,
of them.
last episode we saw them, having this moment in the baths together. You know?
And this time she helped him cut his food so he could eat it.
Yeah, that was a great scene. That was a great moment.
Him sitting with the fork, just like, oh, come on, and with the knife, and she just like stabs his big old.
She's like, stop it! This is annoying me now.
This is annoying me now. You need to eat.
Okay, well, there's a lot of other things to talk about this episode. A lot of key things that happen, like the wildlings making it over the wall, or like the Freys coming to Camp Stark and making a amended version of their deal. Like, there's some really big things that happen this episode, and it's almost too much to count. But the thing I feel like this episode really shines in is its final moments, where we have this speech between Varys and Littlefinger about their various politicking. Varys basically says like, like, I did all of what I did, like I used your people and all this kind of stuff that you didn't like I did what I did because it's for the good of the realm. And he's like, because chaos is like this pit that will all like collapse into if chaos remains. So like he wants to ensure the realm remains stable. And then Littlefinger is like, no, chaos is a ladder, because it only within chaos is there like opportunity to climb, basically. And like they're all like, everyone's climbing, So I want to kind of talk about this in a very kind of like metaphorical level, because there's a lot of climbing going on, and a lot of this episode seems to be about people climbing in position, but also like falling as well. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. So like maybe we can go through a few characters and kind of like really discuss like, who's a climber right now and who's falling.
You know who else is a climber?
Who?
Sam's a climber.
He is. The episode does start with him and Gilly, just camping in the woods.
It's like, aw, he could be a good dad. He's climbing up the dad ladder.
Yeah. He's got the dad bod thing already down.
He's got the dad bod. He got that dad bod. Yeah, I feel as if, and it's funny because now the head images, I have people on various like stilts, like climbing higher than each other and trying to knock each other off their stilts.
I feel like that's as apt a metaphor as any, though, because I mean, you can be like Tyrion, who was in last season like the Hand of the King, and everything was great, and like now he's like
been knocked down quite a few pegs.
Yeah, and he's like thriving to not get knifed by somebody.
He's just at the point where I just want to live through this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because before he had some ability to not get knifed all the time, and now he's back in the knife zone.
Yes.
But it's interesting because everyone in their struggle for power also pushes someone down. It's almost like the ladder is them stepping on each other.
Yeah, that might be a fair thing. If you had to think of someone who like is like the ultimate climber right now, like who do you think it would be?
I definitely have to say Littlefinger, because it's kind of terrifying that he went from being someone without any house, which is like the biggest deal in Westeros,
right,
to where he is now, where he could possibly finagle himself in a way either right next to the king or become like the king.
Right. So then, okay, maybe it might be better to phrase the question this way. Do you feel like generally, like in Westeros right now, are like the people who are controlling the flow of the game the most, like the people who hold like titles and power, like, Tywin and Robb and Cersei and all this stuff, or are they the background players like Varys and Littlefinger? And I mean, Olenna is theoretically a background player because her husband is technically the one who runs everything, He's technically the Lord.
Yeah, right.
So
we all know who wears those pants.
We definitely do. But then, I mean, you got other people too, like Melisandre and the Brotherhood, and like all these different factions who, they're not people who hold titles or power yet, but they're shaping things.
Well, and we can even go back to
level.
Daenerys, because she went from literally nothing to an army.
That's true.
So I feel as if this is a thing we've touched on a lot, and it's just like the titles are not necessarily important, and we see a lot of that where like sometimes a title, if someone uses it correctly, it can be a great thing, it can be a good thing, but also that doesn't have a bearing on what a person can achieve and what they can do, because we've seen people who have had nothing and are up with the power players who started at a lot higher rung.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel as if that's a very pervading theme that, like, don't discount the underdog like a whole lot. I mean, like, even this whole war is sort of like, whoever thought the North would snap back at the South?
Right.
And they're like toe to toe for the most part.
Do you have a favorite underdog right now, Zach?
Hmm.
Or maybe you're afraid to say because this is a Game of Thrones and they might end up dead.
don't want to have any hopes.
Come on, indulge us. Who's your favorite underdog right now?
Favorite underdog? I have to think through all of them. But it depends on who we count as an underdog. Like our background player, because Olenna is the best.
Yeah, but is she really an underdog? I don't know.
No, yeah, I know, because that's the thing. Because she held enough sway that, like, her and Tywin were able to throw their collective power back and forth at each other.
Yes, that scene is perfect.
But favorite underdog, that's really tough, because I mean, like, there are easy choices like Arya and stuff,
right?
And then there are some people who fell. Like, I don't necessarily want to see Theon rise, but I'm interested to see where that goes.
Right.
Because, I mean, like, the simple ones are, like, Arya or, like, Sam or even, like, Jon Snow are, like...
He is a little bit of an underdog right now.
Underdog things happening.
I mean, because what would you really do in that situation that he's in, Like
exactly.
That's a little bit tricky.
He can't really do much of anything.
Right.
He's a spy deep undercover.
But it's like, is he even really a spy anymore? Like, exactly. We don't even really know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's weird, because we don't know what he'll do. And that's what's kind of interesting about his arc.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of the people that haven't got a lot of screen time, I just want to see what they do, like Bran's whole camp.
That's true.
Like, where they're going, what they're going to do, because at a certain point, they're going to be with the wildlings, because they're pretty close to the wall.
Yep, they're going north.
And Sam is also close to the wall, and I guess he's planning to go through Castle Black, which... Oh, right. I'm afraid. I am so afraid for that.
Yeah. Things are getting...
Because you know what? The easy thing for him to just be able to pass through there and be no one is actually a terrifying thing. And actually learning, like, in the past few episodes that most of the castles are actually unmanned. If even part of that is true, is scary.
The forces have truly dwindled for the Night's Watch, which is really scary.
Yeah.
Considering that they're facing probably the greatest threat ever up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's hard for me to pick a specific underdog.
Yeah.
But my typical ones would be like a lot of the outliers, like Arya and Sam and Jon.
Okay, well, let's move into our weekly wrap-up questions. This is a fun episode because we do get to see mostly everybody. We don't see Daenerys and a few others, but we really do get a sense of that, and we also really do get a sense of where they're going. Mm-hmm. So let's start with Stark of the Week. Because we do see a lot of them this episode. I think we see all of them, actually. I think we see all the Starks.
I think so too. Because we see Robb.
Yeah, we see Robb, Arya,
Rickon,
Sansa.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and Catelyn.
And if you count Jon too.
Yeah, Jon. Yep. So who's your Stark of the Week this week?
That one's tough. I can't give it to Sansa because it's like a pity vote.
Yeah, I know.
Because she just got dunked on again.
She did. That poor girl.
I don't know. I feel as if I was the most surprised and sort of happy to see Robb.
Okay.
Like, Robb came back to the whole Frey thing, and I was like, I thought that would go completely different, but he submits completely, like lays his pride down, and also keeps his other people in line.
Right. He handles that situation about as well as you could.
Yeah, I feel like it was really good because I thought that he would break, but no, it's going to happen, which is weird, and I don't know how that's going to go, but like that was very surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think I really showed it to you, but in my head I was just like, what? This is actually happening? I just thought he was, I don't know, I thought he was going to pull some sort of a ruse to get across the bridge and be like, neener, screw you.
Right.
And weird old Frey was going to like, yell and be angry, but nothing would happen.
But now he needs the Freys and their armies, so it's like, not only does he has to get the guy who he betrayed to fight with him, like.
But now he has to like make his wife like his mistress.
Well,
Sort of.
he can still be married to her. It's just that Edmure, his uncle, Catelyn's brother, is going to have to marry a Frey.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
So like, yeah, he screwed that up.
It's double Frey.
Right. Things. Right. So like, because he can't be married because of, you know, him being already married, like they basically are like, we're gonna argue for the next best thing, which is the heir apparent to the
At first, I thought, well, and they're also going to let them have a
Harrenhal. Yeah.
Hammerfall.
It's funny, too. I feel like anytime, like, someone's, like, bartering for, like, someone's greater involvement, like, we'll give you Harrenhal. Sold.
It's like everyone wants Harrenhal.
Everyone wants Harrenhal.
It's like they have Disney World in there somewhere.
I know. But if you remember, I mean, that was, like, the rat torture place.
Well, yeah, exactly. It
So
doesn't
it's
seem
not
like
exactly
a place you
Disney
want to fight
World.
over. It's like, it was a great fort. It's
Yes.
not so much right now.
It's not Disney World.
It's not quite Disney World. I mean, maybe it's Disneyland, but not Disney World.
Okay, well, who would you give the crown to this week based on how well they played the game? This one, to me, I can't even imagine, because it's, like, there's so many people who we see, like, you can clearly see them, like, they're making power plays this episode that are lining up, you know, things to come. So, I feel like this one's a really tough one to figure out. I mean, like the way that like Tywin dealt with like Olenna is really interesting, but the way Olenna dealt back with
to
Tywin,
him, like, yeah.
But in the end,
really
like we still got
like basically no forward motion on either camp.
Right, and then you got Littlefinger doing his stuff.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. Like, he did a lot of stuff, but I'm not sure how strong his play is. It's like we've seen the first part of his move, but we haven't seen where it was going.
Right.
So I don't feel like I can give it to him. I actually feel like I want to give it to Olenna because she stood her ground and like kept things going.
Even though she did concede to like Tywin's terms, basically.
I still feel like it was the best for her because you also have to consider that she has a very tenuous alliance with them, and she was still able to stand strong against a lot of different stuff.
Right.
So, and also her option was definitely the best one for her. Like, she took the best option and stuck it as much to Tywin as she possibly could.
She did, yeah.
So, and I don't know, and I even just want to say it for the way that she handled him, because I have not seen anyone that has gone toe to toe with him that
she got under his skin.
I know, like, that has deigned to cause him to like have to respond back in kind like that. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, she was just so beautifully acerbic with
him. Like, that was good. Like, I feel like she definitely gets that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen her like just talk to other people and do stuff, but this was her first like time she made this was her first official screened power play, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, even it's kind of like we've seen her like throughout the season so far. Like, she's collecting information with Sansa. She's sending Marjorie to like make nice with Sansa. She's doing
like,
all these things,
little things that you then see. But
she's like bartering with Tyrion in an earlier episode. Like,
yes,
all this was like, I feel like preparing this moment where Olenna was going to be forced into a decision, but like how she deals with that decision,
is great. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, it couldn't have been done much better.
Okay. Well, on that note, though, she plays that the best she can, but there's also a lot of plans that are made, as a result of that, and also a lot of plans made just in general in this episode. So who do you think has the best plan moving forward, and who has the worst plan moving forward?
That one is tough. I feel even more solidly about it this week. I still feel as if Tywin has worse plan.
By like pressuring
just by pressuring what he wants, because no one on either side has relented, and we've seen they've pushed back, and yet he still will only accept what he wants. And it's almost his stubbornness that makes me give him like this again for a second time.
Like the fact that he's
the
fact that he's like testing the limits with.
Well, it's not even like testing. It's not even testing. It's like, this is what's going to happen, and you're going to do it. And he doesn't have any concept of the amount of blowback that these people could cause for him.
Okay. So if that was your worst plan, right?
Worst plan.
Okay, so what's your best plan then?
Ooh, boy. There's a few cop-outs, but I'll try to stay away from those. I mean, like, the easiest cop-out would be climbing over the wall is the best idea for the wildlings.
Oh my
Just get away from that. But once again, that's a cop-out. So.
Yeah. We're talking about moving forward here, too. I mean, obviously that plan's working better for them because they're in a better strategic position right now. Or maybe, Jon Snow and Ygritte can run away more easily now.
Yeah, but once again, cop-out. That's in cop-out zone. It's really tough.
Okay.
Because who's doing it the best is hard to tell because no one's really quote-unquote winning at this point.
What's your gut feeling?
I want to say Littlefinger because all the stuff that he seemed like he wasn't doing and all the stuff he was planning is coming to fruition. And we've seen this last season where Littlefinger is like a very long picture person. Like, he's the one who got the Tyrells to come and save the day at the very end of the last season.
Yeah.
Like, that was him.
Yep.
I don't think I've given him as much credit as I should have. I've kind of written him off. So I feel like this whole thing, while some of it will come to bite him in the butt, I feel like he's made maybe one of the best strategic decisions that I've ever seen him make in the show.
Right.
So I will give best plan to him.
Okay.
And part of it is because I'm scared of his plan because I don't know where all it's going. So I think it's pretty good. So that's why I want to give him best plan. So if I can't go for the most easy cop-out answer, it's whose plan am I the most afraid of? Beside Melisandre's, because that's just the baseline level of fear.
Yeah. Okay. With all these things going on, all this incredible moving and shaking and people planning and scheming and all this kind of stuff, how hopeful are you feeling, Zach?
Not as hopeful. We're talking like a 4.
Yeah, like when you see Sansa at the end, like crying,
like Sansa was crying. Arya was told she was gonna become a vicious murderer.
Yeah.
Jon and Ygritte know that there's no easy way for them to have a life.
Yeah, they're
Sam is in like literally like the perfect horror movie situation to get murdered.
He is.
Like a lot of the people that I love are not doing well. And Gendry just gets straight up yoinked.
Yeah. Melisandre's like, this is mine now.
And I'm like, oh, done. He's gone. Don't even care about him anymore, Zach. No more feeling in this character.
You must cut off your feelings now.
Cut off your feelings now before they are wounded. Yeah. There's a lot that's not good. And I also very much like Varys being like the sort of quote unquote true neutral, like protector of the realm. And the fact that he kind of seemed to have fallen is bad in my opinion. Like, that sucks.
Right.
Because he always tries to do the best for things, but Eddard still got his head chopped off, and well, Littlefinger just kind of wrecked him.
Yeah, Littlefinger probably won this episode.
Yeah, this episode. Once again, I'm sure there'll be more back and forth.
I feel like there's like this eternal battle between Varys and Littlefinger, and we could probably make a weekly question just out of like, okay, so like who was the winner?
Who won this week?
Varys or Littlefinger?
Yeah, just for like if they have a scene together, like who won?
Yeah, because there's always like there's such great verbal like sparring between them, but then like ultimately what I come back to is like Varys is like, I have no real quarrel with you beyond the fact that you don't play for the realm,
Yeah, but Littlefinger doesn't care, and unfortunately, selfishness will win out over someone who has like a code.
Right. Well, as always, Zach, it is a pleasure watching you watch. This episode in particular was a lot of fun.
This makes me anxious.
So, if you've been enjoying Zach's journey through Game of Thrones, I know I certainly have. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe you've got a leading question. Maybe you have a better idea of something we can ask in leading ahead. We got some great stuff coming up ahead in Game of Thrones.
Oh boy. How much is left in this season?
We just watched episode 6, so we got a little under half the season left. So,
oh dear.
I mean, there's a lot happening. Like, think about this though in comparison to the other seasons.
I know, it's kind of mind-boggling. Like, at this point, we have hidden as much things as would have happened in season 1.
Right.
It's kind of nuts.
It is very nuts. The show just moves at this like breakneck pace, and I kind of love it. Season 3 is definitely a very mobile season with just the amount of stuff that they do. So it's good. It's real good. So yeah, but maybe you've got a question for Zach that's a leading question. We'd love to hear from you. You can connect with us on our YouTube channel. Maybe you are watching the video version of the podcast here.
Mostly listening.
That's useful NPCs. You can also find this podcast on iTunes if you are on YouTube. So there's a good way to do it too. We have a Tumblr that you can connect with us, and also Twitter. Both of those are useful NPCs. So we'd love for you to connect with us and send in your questions, anything like that. We'd love to hear from you.
Just chat. We like
yes.
nerd stuff, and we assume you probably do too.
Yes. So yeah, Zach, we're getting through season 3.
That's why I ask. I'm just scared because I know it's only going to get more intense from here, and I want to know when I could get a break.
When you can get a break
from the action, the drama.
I mean, Zach, you're watching Game of Thrones.
It's taxing.
It is. Maybe we need to do something lighthearted, like get you some cotton candy.
That sounds good. But my tears will melt it.
So